All right, guys, good evening. Welcome aboard to our market recap. It's a little late this evening, but we wanted to make sure to have futures open, and I wanted to make sure I had Nick with me. This is Nick DiGiacomo here, our VP at GAR Capital. What's up, Nick?
Good evening, guys.
All right, so we're just going to recap the week. This is not going to be too long, too drawn. You know, everyone wants to enjoy their weekend. We know Halloween, end of the month, starts on Tuesday, or is on Tuesday, excuse me, and then we have a new month into November, starting the 1st on Wednesday. So let's see if we can end the week strong. Nick, what do you say? Pretty good week last week, right?
Happy Halloween.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Good week, good way. So this video was something that I was interested in talking about. Why? And the other reason I didn't do the video this afternoon, because I was watching football all day. So thank you, Nick, for being patient with me. You wanted to be a little earlier, but I was watching football. So just for the audience to know, they're used to me doing it on Saturdays. So wanted to wait for Sunday. I'm pretty sure everyone's cool with that, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So listen, we talked about on the YouTube this week, you also on your videos, about how important those weekly averages were on ES and S&P. And I know I got a lot of flack on Twitter or X saying that, oh, I told you all-time highs, you're not coming. So we talked about that as well on our debrief, Nick, after the market was closed on the week. We're going to get over those things. So we're going to talk about the markets. We're going to talk about sentiment. We're going to talk about the week coming up. But we're going to start with the week that we just had in terms of trading options. Interesting enough with expectations, right, Nick? The better you get, the higher expectations, right? Kansas City Chiefs always win. Everyone expects them to win. Guess what? They lost this week to the Broncos of all teams. I mean, these things happen, but even with the market, even with Powell speaking, even with a ton of earnings, even with GDP, core PCE, hey man, we went 3 for 3 this week with 2 for Masterclass. How do you feel about that, Nick?
I feel great. I think that, look, we came into the week, if you guys remember, as with the understanding that it's going to be a very definitive. We knew that, at least the way we see things. And I think, again, we talked about this I think it was last Saturday. As most traders see this, if we get a major break, we need to pay attention to it. And we did. We did break down, but we were holding 4,200 up until, Wednesday, I think. So, I mean, we played correctly.
Correct, yeah.
Able, maybe. But, again, the idea was to come into this week, take some shots, and just be observatory for the most part and see how this plays out.
Yeah, and I think we did the right thing. Again, 3 for 3. We did Tesla puts that we held on from last week. Remember, we had Apple puts last week as well. We closed those on a Friday, but we let Tesla go. And then Apple, the 175 calls, we got out perfectly. This is what we call learning our lesson, 35%. But then AMD puts, 200 puts, man, that got as high as 276%. Man, that was crazy. But closing early too sometimes, right? It's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right, Nick? Apple was a perfect close, and then you have AMD, not the perfect close, but profit was made. So, well done all around. We sent that screenshot out. We got plenty of screenshots you can see here. Well done to everybody. Apple, I would say I'm the most proud of because we learned our lesson. I didn't want the Microsoft type reversal that we had last week. Gets us to 3 for 3. Tesla started off the week right. That's what we wanted, right off the rip. We get that Tesla going. That went for a bag as well, 106%. So that was awesome. We got some Microsoft calls that we're holding. Maybe, a lot of people may be thinking, what, buying calls here? We're going to go over that here in a second. So that's how we did 3 for 3 this week. Real quick, we also did for Masterclass. I went ahead and sent out Coinbase. If you guys remember this week, that crypto bounced. I think Bitcoin's right around 34,000, 35,000. Banger of a trade, got as high as 104%. I closed that runner right around like 80. But again, beautiful. Amazon, I played earnings. I know, Nick. I know. Don't kill me. But again, I know it was a high risk setup. This is why I wanted to send it to Masterclass. Again, I trust Masterclass students to make the right decisions in terms of risk. Usually basic or premium members, we don't know you in particular. We don't know your risk tolerance. But when it comes to Masterclass, Nick, you know more than any of them. A little more seasoned, right? They know how to trade. They know a little bit more. They're not going to go all in on an earnings play. Maybe if they did, they paid out okay because Amazon did great. You could see how high it went. I think it went as high as like 60% on that, and it's on fire. It was on fire that day after earnings. A little heat, right, Nick? Right after earnings, we were dipping, and then the earnings call, some cloud growth there. So Amazon knocked it out. Some great numbers from Amazon. That was a great quarter, and we took advantage and went as high as 130. Imagine that. We had the 125 calls. So very well done on Amazon. We'll see if we get that continuation moving forward. So 5 for 5 week in options. Nick talked about futures on his video on the Discord. So futures members, make sure to take a look at that so you can be updated for the upcoming week. So that was our week. Let's go to the month. We are now 12 out of 17, 71%. Just kills me that really one trade, that Google trade where I closed too early. That's a win right there if we would just hold. IWM, if we just close at 20, 25%, the first trade of the month, that's hit. And then Microsoft and Amazon, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. Or was it last week? Excuse me. Just the reversals, just killer. I mean, if we just closing at 20%, which is completely prudent, but then again, you miss some stuff like an Amazon put, AMD put like we did. Man, Nick, we're 16 out of 17. So it's kind of like the little things we got to clean up. Obviously, are you still in the thinking that 20%, 25% in this market, you're feeling comfortable to take that risk off the table on options,
I don't change the system. I think that ultimately you just have to understand the environment that you're in. These things happen. I think that, you need to have, if you're just strictly focused on options, you need to be, a lot of my students, have been getting into futures. So, it's a good supplement. Can
Sure.
you get whacked both ways? Sure.
Yeah.
But look, you need to understand that right now, the way the market looks is that, over at least I don't want to say right now, but I would say over the last couple of weeks, it's been relatively choppy, guys. If you look at the monthlies, if you look at the weeklies, you can see it. So you're not getting that clean direction. Do we have direction now? Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Yep.
So
Yep.
It's really just all about your preference. I don't think there's really anything to clean up. I wouldn't necessarily say that. I would say just be mindful of your risk, ultimately.
Yeah, as always, we're going to keep you guys up to date. Again, if you're a premium or masterclass member. So again, step-by-step, trade by trade, excuse me. Another undefeated week in the books. Kind of feels like we left something on the table, which is fine. And I think we end the month strong. And we keep it moving for the quarter. So again, we're all about trying to see if we can continue on the gains in the right path that we've been doing all year. We've been doing very excellent. Other than reversals, that's really the only thing that's been killing us. We've been having direction. What was that?
That's options.
Yeah, that's options. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. But we'll go ahead and move on now to S&P. Again, we don't want to keep everyone here too long. We want everyone to enjoy their Sunday night. So with that being said here, 4150 ES. We broke below the 100-week and we broke below the 50-week.
Yep.
It's hard to be a bull here, Nick. I can tell you that. Me.
Yeah.
Me. You know how I am.
Yeah.
But again, I have to concede. I've said it. 4155 is that 50% retrace. Very, very important. The problem is that we're sitting on it. Do you suspect possibly we get a bounce into the FOMC this week? We do have a Fed meeting this week with Powell. Do you think we run up into it? Are you a sell the rip or are you buying the dip? What do you call it?
The way I see it is that, again, going off of history, going off of what I've seen from my experience and our experience, is that ultimately during a Fed week, if we're in a lull, we're in kind of a lull here, you're probably going to see a bounce because everybody's expecting the worst, right? You may still get what you want, in terms of lower, but you're not going to see it right away. You're probably going to see it rally into the FOMC, and then you're going to see what Mr. Powell has to say, and then we go from there. So don't be surprised if you see a bounce into the FOMC this week. That's it. Into Tuesday, Wednesday. Is it going to be something to chase? Well, we'll see what we can do. But is it viable? We got to get Wednesday out of the way. Remember, guys, over the past couple of weeks, we've more or less been in that gauntlet phase where we're getting a lot of this out of the way. We have a lot of things coming at us. So we just really need to get out of this. And we spoke about this last week, saying get to November. Get to November. get earnings out of the way, get
Mhm.
that out of the way, and you'll see how the cookie crumbles.
Yep. So here we're looking at the daily here on S&P. Just brought up the weekly. Talked about that 100 and that 50. I talked about some key levels. I said that 200-day moving average has to hold by the end of the week. It didn't. It sliced way below it. We are now at
Yep.
that 50% retrace. We're at critical levels here. The problem I have, Nick, is that sentiment is so depressed. You know, when you have
Yeah.
everyone thinking the world's over, just like last year, you get those
Yeah.
kind of hopes, the hopium bounce. You get some kind of rally where you just get some short covering. So here's my question to you. At what point would you say, okay, I think the worst is over? I have the level in my screen for me where I say, okay, that's it, it's over, it's 4,300. I think you
I
stay
think
short below that. I think even above 4,200, even above that 200-day, until you break 4,300, I think you short every rip. That's.
Well, I agree with you.
I think that's pretty much the only way you could see it.
I agree with you on that, but I would say that 4,200 is the first hurdle. And if we can get a weekly close above 4,200, you have odds in your favor. But if you don't, then
Yeah, true. I would say 4,300 to me. Again, that's that August high from last year. That was kind of that level that we needed to retest to kind of get to that 20% threshold that we were. That was where the bull market started in a sense. It broke out in May, but that 4,300 level, that was kind of what the confirmation was for us because it broke that August high from last year. But yeah, until then, I mean, hey, listen, the year ain't over. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I told you we're going to tank. Listen, call me crazy, but, you know, November and December are very strong. I think a lot of things are priced in. And, you know, you could say hopium all you want, but at the end of the day, and really until, you know, the fat lady sings, you know, I don't want to throw the towel in yet. But I think sentiment is extremely depressed to the point of where, you know, everyone is preparing for the worst. And I don't think it's going to be that simple to get you down to 4,000. Now, I could be wrong. Apple does report this week, so it could be horrific. And then we have a path to get to 4,000. But I think, Nick, you agree with me, like you said. It's pretty much short the rip until now, huh? Until 4,300, I would say.
again, as traders, we're mercenaries. We're going day to day, you know, week to week. So we don't know. We can tell you, we know the zones. And so we need to observe price action. We need to see what materializes in a period of time. And then at that point, we can make a decision. And we can say,
and we can't.
We can't. Hey, guys, we don't know. Right now, we're more or less in no man's land. We could go to 4,000. We could go to 4,200.
Right.
We could go to 4,300.
Right. But here's my thing. Let's not be married to one side either. You know, we're going to be fluid. If we start getting a bounce, I was looking at the stock market almanac for the week. Out of the 4 days this week, it's all bullish each day. I mean, what do you think about that? You think we're just gonna? I think we're gonna rally into the Fed. I think that we get that bounce. I think we get to above 4,200. Carlos is bullish. Imagine that. Imagine you haven't heard that before, right? I do have Microsoft calls.
Same song.
So I'm just saying, I may not be wrong. I mean, I may not be right, but I'm not wrong. How is it, Nick?
I may not be right,
but I'm not wrong.
I'm not wrong.
That's right. You know, we got this, you know, trend line here holding up on the hourly on Microsoft. Get me above 338, baby. We're going to 340. I think so.
Got to see how it plays out.
Well, futures are green right now. You know, we're getting a little bit of a bid. I'm seeing some things here. Anything that stands out to me. Bonds are red, so yields are up a little bit. Crude is down slightly. Gasoline's down. Gold is up, but yet stock futures are up. So a little bit of interesting price action this Asian session. I don't see anything standing out in terms of news lately. Has anything caught your attention, Nick?
I wouldn't say so.
No, nothing. I mean, there wasn't really any geopolitical news. I didn't see anything that was market rocking that would make the stock market turn red ahead of Monday's open. Now, I think we do have some earnings, so we need to go over that rather quickly here on the Discord. He's not looking at it right now, so I'm doing the. I don't think Nick can see my screen here.
I see. I got it up.
Oh, you got the earnings? Okay, great. So we have SoFi, McDonald's first thing in the morning on Monday, but AMD's big. AMD's probably the one that I'm staring at, and of course Apple. Apple's on Thursday. Is there any other ones that you're looking at, not to play, but that you think are important?
I think those two. You want
Right.
to see how AMD comes in. You want to see Apple. I
Right.
mean, we got falling out of the way. You know, we see, I mean, you have the slew of others already out of the way. Financials, we see what they're doing.
Yeah,
So I
financials
mean,
are down. Yeah. I'm of the opinion that 99.42, 99.60 on AMD, that breaks out, I might take a crack at to the 105 calls. Maybe.
let me take.
I'm looking at it. So the reason I'm saying is I'm just playing that moving average bounce on the 200. But again, we're still a little further away. We're 96.32. We're gonna need a little bit more from AMD. This can be a trade after the fact. We don't need to trade the actual number. Again,
Right.
let's say we get a little wild ahead of the number. We get above 99. We'll get a crack at it 105 with a little bit of momentum. We close out and then we leave a runner for the earnings for a little lotto. I think that's kind of how it plays out in terms of AMD.
Right.
Because if not, it breaks down. We got 88. So I mean, if you're someone that owns AMD heavy and you're trying to look to buy some, kind of some puts to protect, buy some puts. Yeah, I guess your best bet would probably be right around the 90 level. That's around 90 to 88 is your support. On Apple, what are you seeing? Anything? I mean, you're holding some really key support. There's a gap to fill that we just filled at 166, 167. What are you seeing?
I'm looking at AMD right now. I say, low 92, you can play it down, but guess what? The premium is going to be juiced. So good luck with that. Apple's going to be juiced.
Yep,
so
of course.
Better off waiting until after the dust settles. I mean, do you really want to trade it into their reports? Why?
No. The only reason you do is that you get to run up into them. And I have traded Apple, and they tend to run up into earnings. The only thing you got to be worried about Apple is that they're going to have a Mac event. So now you have double the IV, I believe. You're going to have the, I think the Mac event, the speed event. I think that's tomorrow or Tuesday. Let me see. Apple event. I'll make sure.
Don't touch them yet.
Yeah, no, we don't have any exposure on Apple in terms of. Yeah, it's tomorrow. Tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Apparently, there you go. Late night. So that'll be it tomorrow in terms of Apple, and then of course you have earnings into Thursday. We also have the Fed as well, and the Fed matters to Apple because they're a big part of the S&P. That's really the only reason. Watch list talk. What do you got for me, Nick? What are we looking at?
Well, we have some semis on there. We have the S&P. We got Qs. What else we got? I think we got some financials on there. We just, again, after last week, it was very much so an observatory where we want to see really what the market's going to tell us.
Right.
And so we got that cue last week to tell us, okay, we're more likely to go lower than higher. But that doesn't mean you can't bounce first. So at this moment, it's still November. That's the way I look at it. I say,
just get me to November. Yep.
Just get me to November. Get me to November. Let me see how this plays out. If we're trading this, and we will, it's going to be dicey, but it's going to pass.
What are the odds we have a monthly close on S&P? Let's see where the monthly close is. Let me switch this. Are we above any major moving averages on the monthly? We're sitting right on the 20-month moving average.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. There is no moving average below that other than the 50-month moving average, and that's 38.78. So if you're looking for a bounce play, that's the play. That's kind of the level you need to hold in terms of the longer stretch.
Right.
But if bulls can get us above 4,200 by the end of the week, are you feeling, or would you feel a little more confident if we had that close?
Absolutely.
By the end of the week, 4,200?
I would say it's more likely than not.
Right.
Just for the simple fact of sentiment. The other thing is that if you take a look at a lot of the names that you and I look at, a lot of them are sitting at support or they're already washed out. Now,
doesn't mean you can't have more to go.
They could have more to go.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yep.
We know that.
Mm-hmm.
We're still in that period where we got to get earnings out of the way. We got to get the Fed out of the way. We're almost there.
The last guy is Apple. We just need to get that little bad boy knocked out. I think we'll have NVIDIA maybe a couple of weeks after. So we'll have at least a couple, I think one or two names that are very notable in terms of earnings, but Apple, that's probably the last. That's it. That's really the last one. Again, other than Nvidia, we had Meta, great earnings. We had Tesla, not so great earnings. Netflix, great earnings, great report. Microsoft, great earnings, great report. Amazon, great earnings, great report. Google lost some market share. That fell. So kind of mixed in terms of earnings. Anything stand out to you, Nick?
Yes, for November.
That's it. Just Nick is already just get me to Thanksgiving at this point, because October is one to forget. The hunt for Red October.
Out of the way, get the rest of these earnings, and then we'll know. And it doesn't look good. I'll tell you that right now, because you've already broken and closed below. So, 4,200. So it doesn't look good in terms of how this is going to play out. But again, this is the gauntlet this week. We have the Fed.
Well, I'll be in the morning note tomorrow. So kind of any prediction now will sound kind of weird tomorrow if you see it this tomorrow. Again, I'm expecting a little bit of at least some oversold bounces. But at that point, I'm not a buyer of them. I want to just sell them. So that's what I'm looking at. You have a level of 4,200. Fair. That's my first one. There's definitely a chance that we can get to 4,200 tomorrow. There's a chance we can get to 4,200 before the Fed. If push comes to shove, you're at that 4,200 pivot ahead of the Fed. What are you leaning towards?
Well, if we get
would you say higher or lower?
Go to 4,300 then.
So 4,300 would be your pivot. That's what I have mine.
So I think so. I think if we get,
I think 4,200 is a little too low, because that could happen tomorrow.
Then they wash you out.
Right.
But then they might wash you.
I think for the point being, I think kind of what we're looking at, and again, I know I said all-time highs by the end of the year, and again, the year is not over, by the way. I'm just saying, it's 28-3 Falcons and the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and they came back. I'm just saying, Nick, you got to believe, right? You never know. I know, no hopium. I know. I'm just being silly, and that's okay. But yes, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's fine. It happens. 4,300 to me is my pivot. I think no matter what happens, again, individual stocks may vary. I'm talking about the broader market, broader barometer. You got to get above 4,300 on ES. At this point, any kind of bounce there, you're pretty much selling it. You're pretty much looking at it as a way to get out, in a sense, until 4,300. You need equal weight S&P, guys, for any kind of thought of any kind of bounce into November, which again I am hoping for. RSP, the equal weight S&P, this is all the 500 stocks in the S&P equally weighted, not Apple, Nvidia, Tesla weighted, because they're all doing fine. Those major mega cap stocks are still green for the year. This is not a recession or anything. This isn't a depression either, or a stock market crash. This is actually a correction. But equal weight S&Ps, but below the 200-week MA. That is not good. We settled below that. You got to get above that. 137.40. That's the only way, in my opinion, possibly, is where I'm feeling any semblance of comfort in terms of going long, unless we're playing some reversals. And the only benefit of playing reversals, guys, is the fact that those premiums are extremely cheap. So again, if we're shorting here when the market is red, keep in mind, it's going to be expensive. It is. Duh. You're going to short while the market's down? Of course. It's just going to be on the pricier side. So we have to make sure that if we continue shorting, which we are expecting a little more downside, that we want to make sure we keep that risk in check. We want to keep sure we have the value proposition in. Do I want to short Google down 13% in 2 days? Probably not the best value proposition there, Nick. Same thing with Tesla, that was down as well. We want to kind of be careful. We kind of want to, timing is everything in options, as we know. And in terms of futures, again, levels are the most important at the end of the day. So, you have anything else to add, Nick, so we can wrap it up?
Get a bounce into the Fed, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we got Powell speaking on Wednesday, so it's gonna be, an interesting week. So far, so good. I definitely want to have an undefeated week this week. Let's see if Microsoft gives us a little love to start up the week. Maybe we get us to 338 and we catch that. Why not? That'd be nice. And again, you want to hold those calls worst case, because what if we do get a reversal? Microsoft has been doing great. I mean, yes, we had that reversal off earnings, but it's been holding up. You know where that's going to go if the market starts juicing a bit on the S&P.
Yes, we just have to see.
We just have to see. Yep.
We're almost there.
If there's one stock that I'm looking at to possibly look for a short, it's probably Amazon. You're probably fading that little rally there. You know, if you look at the 1 hour, I want to go ahead and end the week, end this video here on the 1 hour. Hey, you know, we got that zone there. See if I can get this connected nicely.
Well,
you know, hey, listen, on the 1 hour, really since about 2 Thursdays ago, we've been lower highs, lower lows. So, I mean, we're back to that zone that I had was as support that broke when we actually went Amazon long, if you don't remember from a couple weeks ago.
yes.
You got that breakdown. So now you have a daily candle that's not looking that great in terms of the daily, and you're right on the 20. Maybe we go ahead and retest 122. Why not? Why not? We'll see. But I think Amazon with look at that, it's up 6.83%, and those premiums were juiced. I think it's a fade. I think you could fade it. Unless you get above 130, I think you fade Amazon here, in my opinion. We'll see what we get. Unless you break above 130, then that's fine. Then we got to see where we go from there. Things change rather quickly, right, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Amazon and I see we've been in the same price range for the last 5 weeks.
Yep.
So, you know, it's very difficult to say
well,
at the moment.
You know, this is why we play the game. So we will see you on Monday. Thanks for watching. I'll post this on the Discord as always. And if you haven't already, make sure to turn on notifications. Like these videos, guys. Appreciate you as always. Nick, any parting words for the audience?
Keep your risk in check. Don't get crazy.
Don't.
Wait till November. I already told you guys this. Soon as you guys know.
Yeah.
And, you know, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. All right, guys. I will see you tomorrow for the morning note. Go Cowboys. Had to wear my Parsons jersey for that. And we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Cheers.
Good night.